Well, this is the Raw after Mania, Chris, where we get the new lay of the land. And it is centered right now in great part around Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker. They were advertised as addressing their actions, their new group. We got, affording some storylines, an angle to close out the show with in a match with Sami and Braun Breaker. Seth as the most vocal spokesperson for the group, but acting the same way, dressing the same way, talking the same way to the same music, with the fans still singing his song, not only when the music plays, but at the end of the match after he beats up Sami. So I got mixed feelings on this. I'm not blown away by week one of the new Heyman Alliance kind of being the centerpiece of Raw. How about you?
I'm not blown away by it. I'm intrigued by it. I think the thing that is most exciting to me right now is Paul Heyman feels the most different of the three. He's performing in a way that I think is a bit more or less sniveling than he was with Bloodline adjacent stuff. But again, that could just be anecdotal. I'm with you. I'm mixed. Don't know where it's going. I'm open to it being awesome.
Yeah. So the Sami, am I frozen?
Yeah, you froze there.
That has not happened on this computer. Maybe I'll come back.
But you're looking good.
Yeah, it's not the worst freeze frame. It could be worse. Well, at least you can hear me. We'll see if it comes back on its own, or else I don't know what to do. So the story we threw out the show was Sami being tempted or offered the temptation to go to SmackDown and get a world title match that Heyman negotiated for him. What did you think of that offer?
I thought the offer was an enticing one, but it was also clear that was not what Sami was going to be doing. I think Wade's gone. So is it just me? He's back. He's coming back.
I was so hoping you just talk through that while I hit reset.
I totally did.
Oh, good. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah. So, I knew he wasn't going to take the offer, right? The way they set it up, that'd been too easy. I'm also, though, I'm ready, I think, for Sami to stop talking about being in a world title picture and WWE either, pulling the trigger on it or hey, let's move him on. So maybe it comes back around because they did tease that through the storytelling of the match. It felt like a rinse and repeat sort of to me in some ways, the discussions with Sami. So I wasn't too sold on that.
And I'll say my take is a little bit different than yours in that I liked what they did. What I didn't like is what they didn't do. Okay. For one, this is just me. I was kind of excited to have like a third or fourth member teased. Maybe that will still happen.
That'd have been cool.
Yeah, Rusev seems kind of ruled out. He's got his own agenda. Becky Lynch kind of doing her own thing. No hint that she might sign up. I've speculated Sami might turn and join them. That seemed emphatically not in the plans, and that's fine. I didn't have anything specific in mind that I was just married to. I need this to be what happens. But the speculation was there, like a Jeff Cobb showing up and being a guy in a suit standing next to Heyman protecting him. But then Braun Breaker came out in a suit standing next to Heyman looking like he's going to play the role of the guy protecting Heyman. So at this point, until there's reason to think otherwise, and I know it's all over, the SEO was all over, who will join the Heyman Alliance, the new Dangerous Alliance, nothing like that. I didn't mind the story with Sami. And I get what you're saying, about Sami, the ongoing quest for a world title, but they needed something to offer Sami as a vehicle that would seem believably tempting for him. And also that Seth and Heyman would not only tempt Sami, but be something Sami wouldn't feel too bad about accepting. Sami wasn't abandoning a friend if he went to SmackDown. He was simply going to another brand to avoid Braun Breaker. That's fine to get a world title shot. I think it's believable and plausible to think that Seth and Heyman would think that was an offer that would legitimately tempt Sami. Okay. And they needed something like that. They can't just go, Sami, run away from Braun, go to SmackDown. You needed something, an enticement. So that worked for me. I think Sami did a great job on the microphone.
I do too.
Yeah, he's go to hell, Paul Heyman, or Seth Rollins, yelling at him, and all that. So I didn't mind the angle. It was the absence of sort of Heyman taking the lead with a mission statement. As good of a talker as Seth Rollins is, I'm not sure how many people want to hear the exact same Seth Rollins in the same outlandish outfits with the same music and the same sunglasses and the same tone of voice. Now just with Heyman standing behind him saying nothing. Now I know Heyman got a backstage scene with Sammy, which was really well done. But to me, and again, this is my disappointment is more what I imagined might happen that I wanted to see happen. That does not define a bad angle. I mean, I got news to people. If what you want doesn't happen, it doesn't mean the angle's bad. It just means, you might be personally disappointed. So I'm not.
That is news to some.
It is, yes. So I'm not in that sense judging this as a failure or bad. I'm just saying I was kind of hopeful that we'd get a refreshed, remade Seth Rollins that would be including, by the way, and I know it's difficult to give up because the communal experience is part of why people are paying hundreds of dollars for bad seats at WWE events in 10,000 plus packed arenas. 10,000, 11,000 tonight again in Kansas City. They're paying top dollar because they want to be part of chanting stupid things like "one more time" to a heel or "this is awesome," which is fine, but it's not exactly being engaged in an outcome of a match. It's kind of grading it as it's happening or making it about you. I'm enjoying this. This is keep going. This is awesome instead of being into the story being told. And if you're making a movie and you want people to be crying or laughing and all they're doing is great movie, keep it rolling, great movie. As a director, you'd think you failed because they're thinking about their experience watching a movie and how they want it to go on and how great it is. That's after the movie. Not during it. During it, you should be caught up in the chase scene or the jeopardy that the protagonist is in. So I think WWE is continuing to enable a destructive tendency and direction in terms of crowd response to their product. And I think fans think they're showing support for the cause that is WWE and this brand that they're loyal to. It's not a peak experience. A peak experience, I'm sorry for repeating myself, but it's the Sammy Roman Montreal thing. It's Cody on his journey. That's peak experience that I'm pointing to for the past couple of years. There's been many, many over the decades. And not just in WWE. So I think Seth keeping the music, just to round it to tonight, is encouraging a continuation of what we saw tonight. Sammy couldn't have performed better. But at the end, the crowd saying "one more time" to Braun Breaker and singing Seth's song. They cheered Seth and booed CM Punk in the opening segment. I don't know what was up with that, or at least they were sort of tempered in their response to Punk. Same thing with Roman. So yes, Heyman is a popular figure, but Heyman needed to, I think, take the microphone and lead that segment in a way that Seth isn't capable of. And that's not a diss to Seth. Seth's a really, really good performer. But when I mean capable, is Heyman's the one who's capable of taking a crowd and steering them in the direction he wants. He can grab everyone by their proverbial shoulders and go, if you're pointed this way and feeling this way, point this way instead and feel a different way, and I'm going to talk you into it. I wanted that tonight from Heyman, and I want them to stop singing Seth's song. I want new music. I want new outfit for Seth. And I want a feeling of a fresh start. And I didn't get that. So, again, it's kind of, like I said, I like what they did, but I don't like, by a wide margin more, what they didn't do. And I see a bad trend. Chris.
All right. So you gave me a lot. And I agree with almost all of it. The first thing I'll say, the glasses. I could deal with the jacket. I actually kind of liked the jacket and white suit look. But the glasses that he wore in the opening were egregiously distracting. The ones that had the eyeballs on the outside. So couple that with the music, with the cackling. And I think the cackling in particular is indicative of the kind of Joker, mischievous-esque aspect of the Seth freaking Rollins, right? Standing next to Braun Breaker in a suit, which is a tiny bit of evolution, but a suit, right? I mean, a little bit of progression. Paul Heyman affecting a different kind of character. Seth had zero evolution, right? So in that sense, you've already failed his character because he's not progressed at all, to your point, right? The same old shtick. I want to circle this in with the Jey Uso Logan Paul build that they initiated today. And to Karrion Kross's promo from WrestleMania weekend, if you remember it. There seems to really be a trend towards viral moments because WWE is aware of how many views they get. Engagement, views, merchandise, money, right? And so it feels like creating these one more time moments to feed the crowd to do that so they can blast that on social media. I think that that is an aspect of how they are crafting their storytelling in a way that detracts from the long-term build, detracts from the engagement in the story. Again, to your point, it's a failure of the storyteller to get your people more excited about the experience and the feeling than being locked in with the characters themselves, allowing yourself to go on the journey, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not a great thing that they're doing.
And I don't know if they think it's a problem. And if they do, I don't know that they've shown any indication they know how to fix it.
I don't think so.
And it's going to take some work. It's not an overnight thing. But honestly, dumping Seth's music and outfits and having a new theme song and having Heyman take the lead on the microphone would have helped. You know, it would have. Let me pause and we'll introduce ourselves. And then I want to read some chat comments about the conversation we're having. Most agreeing with what we're saying, but they have their own way of framing their feelings on tonight. And certainly we'll get into other topics. As you touched on, we had a Becky Lynch promo. We had the Karrion Kross segment. We had the Pat McAfee speech, which won me over. I'm a Pat McAfee fan now. I thought that was great. That was
kind of cool, actually.
Yep. He could have run for office and made some. I don't know. I mean, that was. I mean, if he can back all that up, he's going to get a lot of votes from people. Yeah. He seemed like a good guy doing good things for the world and stood for the right things. Loyalty to your friends and giving to charity and remembering your roots.
The LGBTQ shout out.
Yes.
On WWE TV. I mean, we shouldn't have to celebrate it, but it's worth celebrating. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, honestly, everything he said, and it's like, where was that last October? If you had a platform and you might want to just kind of decide the obvious difference between two people and what they stand for, and maybe not sit on the sidelines or play neutral for the sake of your pocketbook or your ratings, but because bigger things were at stake. But that's politics, and I don't want to turn a good speech into that. But it crossed my mind listening to that. Like, where was that last fall? If that's how you really feel, isn't it pretty obvious what you were choosing between? Yeah. And so, but hopefully it's a sign of things to come. I doubt he did that because WWE's a little worried about their image. He's talking about how since Target capitulated to the to Trump on the DEI, like their foot traffic is down, and black preachers and churches are saying don't go to Target. And Costco said we're not backing down, and their foot traffic is way up. I mean, it and I say that because it affects 100%. It affects businesses because you can't separate politics, and WWE has not. It's not me bringing politics into it. What sort of is this? No. With the McAfee thing, but I could have avoided it, is, I guess, a fair way to say it, but I'm not. But they should be cognizant of the fact that they have injected politics because Linda McMahon's in the Trump administration, and they've got, I mean, I won't go through the whole list, but it was a rough week. It was a rough couple of weeks for them when it came to public statements. Yeah. And they don't have anyone saying the other view other than CM Punk at this point. So I don't know if McAfee's speech was meant to make you feel warm and fuzzy, or it's just what he would have said anytime, regardless of the world. But I think for WWE fans who agree with a lot of what he says, and what kind of person are you if you don't? That was seriously, it was a great babyface promo. It really was. And a great babyface just speech in general. And I'm sold. But I know I'm getting ahead of things. I'll just say this, and then we'll expand on it later. He needed to not make it seem like he's Shane McMahon against Kurt Angle. I got a shot because I'm Shane McMahon, and I glom everybody's finishers, and no one has to sell for me. Or I don't sell for anyone else, and everyone sells for me because I'm the boss's son, and I'm oblivious to it. It was a total Nepo wrestler living out his fantasy wrestling camp. I hadn't had a chance to do a Shane rant in a while. Never bought the idea that he could go toe-to-toe with an Olympic gold medalist. It was freaking absurd. McAfee's not pretending to be Shane. He's like, I'm going to get killed. I might be dead, but I'm fighting for my friend. I'm fighting for my friend. And it's like, I'll buy into that. I can appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, so to set the show here. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show, following Raw on Monday, April 28th, 2025, and I'm Wade Keller, host of the show. I am the editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch brand, as we say. It started as a newsletter, still is a newsletter. I've got one sitting around here somewhere. It's still a paper copy newsletter being mailed out to subscribers, and I started it in high school, moved on, of course, to all the different media advancements over the years, including launching PWTorch.com, a website, in 1999. So we just celebrated 25 years since our launch a little while back. And also podcasting. In fact, we're doing podcasting, as I always say, before podcasting was a word. It's true. Going back to 2003. We called them audio shows, and we still kind of do. It's old habits die hard. and also did a 900 number for a while in the 90s, which was the only way to get breaking news quickly, true news to people before the internet was in everyone's home. We are here covering professional wrestling, and now we're on YouTube doing our live shows throughout the week. I host Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown live on YouTube, and then it gets distributed, as it has been for 15 plus years, on our podcast feeds. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app if you have not subscribed yet. And then also just search PWTorch on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel also. You can also, by the way, on the podcast side of things, search PWTorch in addition to Wade Keller, and you'll get all of our free feeds on your podcast app. We're compatible with Apple, Spotify, Android apps, iOS apps. So yeah, search Wade Keller, subscribe to the Red and Blue shows. The Blue show is our regular podcast rather than our post-show format. And tomorrow, Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net joins me on our weekly flagship edition. He joins me every 3 weeks, and we got a lot to talk about tomorrow. We'll talk some TNA Rebellion pay-per-view results too, and Joe Hendry and all that. So if you have questions, by the way, for the flagship tomorrow, email now, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. We answer a broad array of questions in that format. CJ asked on Friday, I didn't get a chance to respond to him in the chat, whether we ever do a show where we answer general questions, and the flagship is that format. So if you don't want to just react to a TV show, but want to ask us about history, broad topics, things off the beaten path, whatever, or just react to what we say in the post shows, that's the way to do it. wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, either live or on demand, like this show and comment below. Just a quick comment on anything we say during the show. Just that 10 seconds can make a real difference for us. And also subscribe to our channel. Those are all indicators to YouTube and their algorithm that we're doing good work, and that can help us grow. You can also set an alarm to be alerted when we go live in case you forget, or there might be a show we do live that isn't on a regular schedule. So do all those things for us. And if you're listening to us on the podcast side of things, give us a 5-star rating in whatever app you're listening to us, and some kind words if you feel they're merited. And if you don't, you can email me anytime, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. Give us suggestions, point out our mistakes, or if we overlook something, or if you just disagree with us. If it's a wrestling comment, leave it in the comments. But if it's about the show and you have some suggestions or critiques or criticisms, or there's a particular co-host you never want to see again, just drop me a line, wadekellerpodcast@gmail. Chris, that wasn't aimed at you. I wouldn't say that in front of you if that was aimed at you. That's for someone else who I won't mention.
For someone else who's not on the
Actually, a few of them. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
One question I did have. It doesn't cost any money to like, comment, and subscribe, does it? It's totally free, right?
No, it doesn't. That's a great point. It's a free way that you can do.
Free, y'all.
You can do wonderful things for us. Finally, by the way, if you do want to expand your support for us, and more importantly, expand the array of things that you can receive from us during the week, a VIP membership is the way to go. PWTorch.com/GoVIP will give you details on all the perks of VIP membership. 35 plus years of archives, almost 2,000 back issues of the newsletter, hundreds of retro radio shows from the 90s on demand, over 20 years of podcasts on demand, our podcast feed that is customizable. It is compatible with Apple Podcasts. You can also sign up through Spotify or Patreon. Just search PWTorch VIP. You got a 7-day free trial. But again, full details on all the options on how to sign up and all the breakdowns of perks at PWTorch.com/GoVIP. You deserve the best wrestling coverage, and you deserve it with the commercial break skipped right over. So you get all our free shows with the commercial breaks edited out, and then you also get VIP exclusive programs on our podcast feed. Again, compatible with Apple CarPlay, Apple Podcasts, and many and most, actually, iOS and Android apps. Okay. So the co-host, who you've heard his voice, if you're on YouTube, you've seen his face. It is Chris Adams, a PWTorch contributor and also a PWTorch VIP podcaster. Chris, welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot, and thanks for letting me get on with you and talk wrestling. It's. I mean, like I said, I'm nothing if I'm not earnest, and this is a highlight for me. So thanks for having me back on.
It's awesome to have you on. Let's tell people about your new VIP show. Talk about it.
Catching the Culture with Conscious Kurt Cadet, who I think was on Friday night with you, did the Friday show.
Yep.
You've heard him and read him. He does the feud tracker for Monday Night Raw. He and I were on the Acknowledging WWE show for a couple weeks when Javier had to step away, and we had such a great time, and Wade invited us back to have a weekly show. So now we have a show called Catching the Culture. where we explore current wrestling events, especially WWE events. And then what we do is something I think that's pretty cool. We look at historical wrestling matches, moments in time, and compare them with pop culture events happening at the same time. Really trying to get a sense of, was wrestling shaping the culture? Was it being shaped by culture? And what's that connection? I mean, we saw it play out in WrestleMania with Travis Scott making his way down the ramp. So we have a lot of fun talking about wrestling and culture. So it's great.
Well, go VIP, check it out. I'm so excited with this format. You and Kurt are great together, and Kurt gave a good plug for it on Friday. You gave a good plug for it right now. Another reason for everyone to check out VIP membership.
It's cool.
And from time to time, by the way, we offer free samples of VIP shows, and we'll probably do yours next week on the free feed that you can find if you search PWTorch in your podcast app. You'll see a charcoal colored logo, and we're inconsistent, but we try to do every week or two a free VIP show. That also, you don't have to use the native Apple Podcast app to get the free samples, but if you do, within the podcast app on your iPhone, you can upgrade to a VIP feed using your Apple account with just your fingerprint or your face. It's like it's frictionless as it gets. If you want to support us, you just want to get all the content we offer on the podcast side of things in one convenient feed with the commercial-free versions of our free shows and all the VIP shows. That's a really good way to do it. So search PWTorch in your Apple Podcast app or any app and get some free VIP samples. Like I said, I think this week we'll put Catching Culture up as a free sample. Okay.
Thanks.
Of course, yes. Thank you. All right. So if you want to be on the show, if you're a VIP member, Patreon supporter, you know the routine. You can find the link in my Raw report on PWTorchVIP.com or on our Patreon page if you're a Patreon supporter. Otherwise, you can join us in the chat. We're keeping it on the chat room. We're going to get to that in just a minute here. And we also offer the email option to participate, wadekellerpodcast at gmail.com. All right. Let's go to the chat. I started some comments here. I threw them up on the screen, but I want to read some of them. I'll go through rapid fire before we comment on some of them. You'll see a pattern here. Mike Good too says the final segment was good, but the crowd messed it up. And let's see. Oh, yeah. Standard Deviation says the misaligned crowd reactions reflect months of muddying the moral waters for so many characters. Azan, contrasting voice, said Seth in his reaction, "We're perfect tonight. Let the fans cheer who cares." Azan, I care because I think it's bad for business. I think the wrestlers in the ring care. And if you care about the wrestlers in the ring, you ought to care. They're getting a different reaction than they expect. They're getting a different reaction than they want, and there's a reason for it. I'm not saying arrest anyone. I'm definitely not saying deport anyone. I'm saying WWE is doing something that is causing fans to react in a way that's incongruent with the intentions of everybody behind the scenes and everybody on camera in the ring. So when you say let the fans cheer, I'm not stopping them. I'm criticizing WWE for leading them in a direction that they think is being helpful, and it's counterproductive. That's what I'm saying. So when you say let the fans, I'm not stopping them. What I'm saying is WWE ought to steer them in, and as Standard Deviation said, they reflect months of muddying the moral waters for so many characters. So Chris, your thoughts on that? I'll throw a couple other comments up too.
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate your humor so much, man. Finding people who are simpatico is nice. I think there's something to the kind of moral ambiguity piece. I mean, people are morally ambiguous. We're not, to quote Aleister Black's theme song, we're not totally evil and we're not totally good, right? We are complex people. But in terms of storytelling, the way that tends to work best and most compellingly on broad strokes is by keeping things fairly simple. Good versus evil, right? That's a very primal motivating thing that we do in how we construct entire systems of belief. It works the same in wrestling. And by constantly breaking that, it was my critique about this whole idea that John Cena's deconstructing wrestling. It only works if you reconstruct it. And sort of to break it and to leave it broken just leaves your toys broken. And I think that's kind of what's gone on right now.
Yeah. So a few more comments from the chat. We'll put Satellite Version 3 says the crowd was awful, man. I can't believe there are people that prefer this over the Euro crowds. They're both awful. No, I'm kidding. John, I'm getting in trouble. In so many ways. John Polizzi said the crowd completely ruined the moment all night. They were just doing what they wanted. They were doing what they wanted, and it's not their fault for doing what they wanted. It's WWE's fault for steering them in a direction to do these things and wanting to do these things. And again, fans shouldn't go to the arena going, let me abide by WWE's wishes and dutifully do what they tell me. It's not what I'm saying. What I want the stories to be immersive enough that fans naturally react to a heel attacking a beloved moral babyface, a strong moral standing in Sami Zayn, and get wrapped up in the moment the way you do when you watch. When I watch The Pit, I know the guy doesn't really have a broken leg. I know that family isn't really mourning the death of their son. I know that she didn't just have a miscarriage. Sorry for all these spoilers, but it's an ER room, or an ER. These things are happening.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching it, I'm like absorbed in it, and I'm emotionally moved by it. But if you pull the camera back and you show the set, and you have announcers going, "We hope we entertained you with our acting. Did you like that directing choice?" It's like I want to be immersed, and there's too many things that WWE is doing that I do think is leading to fans thinking the fun of going to a WWE event is that communal being part of let's go Cena sucks. They're not even thinking of what they're saying. They're chanting both. It's not a dueling chant between half the guys with deep voices and the kids and the women. It used to be. Now it's just people doing it because it's fun. Same thing with One More Time. Get the tables. This is awesome. But the One More Time is especially bad. And singing Seth's song and being for him, that's bad. So yes. But as Kyle Fassel says, I'm old school. I like clear heels and clear baby faces. I don't think that's old school to say that, because otherwise the Sammy Montreal thing wouldn't happen. The Cody thing. I mean, WWE is doing it. They're just not doing it consistently enough. And I think, again, it's a theory that Paul Levesque wants to put a stamp on things and reinvent things, or, we have to change with the times. And it's like, no, you're in charge you've got your hands on the steering wheel if you want to, and you can steer the fans in the direction of responding the right way, but you need the right announcing, which Joe Tessitore does. Michael Cole's inconsistent. And you need to cast who the baby faces are, not by forcing it on fans, like with Roman Reigns and John Cena. People have this aversion to babyface and heel because of Vince McMahon's bad choices and the dorkiness of Cena and the unreadiness, as Roman Reigns has admitted, for that role. But if you cast people astutely, smartly, in line with people's feelings, you're going to get cheers and you're going to get boos, and then emphasize that. And part of it too is this propensity now with Levesque to not book finishes. People now don't go to see who wins a match. They don't get wrapped up in the sports-like experience. They get wrapped up in, I want to chant, I want to sing. Right. They're not wrapped up in that match outcomes are going to even happen. Because, since when does a match end because a wrestler's hurt? Unless his leg is, like Sid, when he jumped out the top rope. Sure. His leg's broken and dangling, or a bone is sticking out. Speaking of the pit. Or someone literally is paralyzed. The whole goal is to hurt somebody and then throw him in the ring and pin him. Why are there people covering him up to protect him?
Yeah. They called it off. They could have easily called it a KO victory or something. Not a KO, but like a TKO or something.
Well, but my argument is don't even do that. Count him out, or let Braun pin him. Right. It's only a 3 count. If Braun's willing to pin him, let him pin him. Now, this is the thing. If Braun, and this is old school, but old school doesn't mean expired. It means it was done right in the past and we've lost our way. That's what old school means to me most of the time. Not all the time. There's things that are old school that should not be brought back. So I think the term is used too broadly. But what hasn't expired is the idea of a heel like Braun Breaker beating up Sami Zayn to the degree that he covers him, the ref counts 2, and he lifts his head. Right. Doesn't let the 3 count. And the ref's like, stop it. And Braun goes, I'm not done yet. And then he attacks him some more. And then he pretends to pin him, smiles, lifts his shoulders at the count of 2. And the ref says, not again. And then Braun does it again. The ref goes, that's enough. I'm calling off the match. I get that.
That's cool.
But they skip.
They've had Gunther do that several times in the last 2 years.
Yes.
At least that I can remember. Yep. Yeah.
It's what I grew up with. It was done constantly. Right? Heels. King Kong Bundy demanded a 5 count. There's different ways to tell that story. But
lifting up a limp-bodied head just looks terrible.
And cruel.
And cruel and grotesque in a way. And you're right. They missed that moment. They missed that opportunity.
But what you need is an announcer who's prepped, who's either has the autonomy with the instincts to say the right thing, or the announcer on heads, or the promoter like Paul Levesque in the back on headset, to understand you need a Joe Tessitore going, this is outlandish. The goal of a wrestling match is not to maim and injure beyond recognition your opponent. Your goal is to get a 3 count or submit your opponent. So you get a win. This is about wins and losses. It's not about destroying careers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a chance to get a 3 count and you choose to not take it, you have left the bounds of why we are here in this ring, bell to bell, trying to win matches and earn championship matches. You've now you've now taken things outside the bounds of why we're all here. Shame on you. Shame on your actions. And you know what? I mean, there's Joe Tessitore's like, you can do that better than I'm just winging it here. That's his profession. But you need that voice, and then you want people to get into it in that way.
Right.
All
right. So the first time I can really remember this one more time happening in the recently was when Bronson Reed was doing it to Seth Rollins, right? The 6 tsunami splashes. That was the first time I thought to myself, weird. We're cheering the wrong guy here. It was awesome. I mean, it looked cool, but then we started having more of those, right? More of those one more time. Yeah. Do you think there's also a part of it where people are paying so much money that there is also at the same time like you're walking in slightly annoyed at how much you've already had to pay and you're going to get what you want one more time kind of thing?
I don't. Because
okay.
I'll say I think if somebody got a free ticket, they'd be just as likely to go with the flow. The flow, and I mean, remember when there was I don't know. I have no sense of time for this sort of isolated incident 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago on social media. WWE said endorsed doing the what chant in a social media post, and there was all this outrage, justifiably so. Why is WWE's social media have somebody working for it who doesn't understand that is the bane of the existence of every intelligent wrestler who goes into the ring? They don't want that. You're not doing wrestler favors. And why is someone on social media so oblivious to how destructive that is to what wrestlers are trying to accomplish on promos? But that is symptomatic and revealing that even someone working at WWE social media thinks that's what WWE is about. It's about the communal experience of chanting and singing and doing things that you saw on TV, and now I'm part of it, and aren't we having fun? It's not the Rocky Horror Picture Show. In WWE, it's a challenge, but WWE, I think, needs to kind of rein that in, and part of it is changing Seth's music. Standard Deviation says the crowd singing Seth's song subtracts from the potential for the storyline to feel fresh. It's an old gimmick. It's not the future. Totally agree with that. And so, again, this is not an overnight thing. It is something that's I think, getting out of hand in a way that should alarm WWE. They would go, well, look at our attendance. It's going great. Yeah. No question about that. But is it something, are people showing up because it's a cool thing to go and be part of the WWE experience, but they're not at the end of it having the peak experience that I talk about that comes from what I'm feeling when I'm watching my favorite NFL team go in the playoffs? Like, it's that rooting interest in an outcome and feeling it matters and it's part of something. I think WWE culturally, as the culture of their presentation, needs to get back to that. And I actually think they have to sacrifice and stamp out the communal experience feedback loop that rewards fans. And I haven't put a lot of thought into how to do that other than change Seth's music. It's tough to give that up. I understand it, but Seth's a new character now. Right. He's not a babyface whose song people like to sing. He's now in a heel faction that's going to be the centerpiece of Raw. It's a huge deal. It's key to getting the most out of Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. Now is the time to really go, do we need to do that? Because it can be it's like Jericho dropping Judas when he turns babyface. I mean, in his head, maybe he never will in AEW again. He won't have the moment. But if he does, hearing that music again after years not hearing it is supposed to be the key to him having another babyface run in AEW. So they took the music away. I think you can do the same thing for Seth. When Braun Breaker, maybe, and it could be the other way around, but if Braun and Heyman turn on Seth coming out to that music again will be a great moment 2.5 years from now, or give or take, whenever that is.
That would be cool. Do you think, well, Becca, I have a fear that the way WWE is creating this like new style kayfabe thing that seems to be happening, where they're allowing us back into the storytelling aspects, but then fueling this, is it real, is it not stuff, so we don't know what the drama is. This WWE Unreal show that's coming out on Netflix, that's sort of like the director's commentary for DVDs, right? As awesome as that was. That seems to me that's just going to perpetuate the idea that we don't really need to get caught up in the characters, because we're always constantly made aware that they are performers, and so we're just going to cheer the performer that we like. I feel like this is just going to keep perpetuating that problem.
No, it is. And it's like second layer booking. And Paul Levesque talked about it on the Andrew Schultz podcast a couple of weeks back, that, he said, and as a feature, as something he's proud of, that there's fans who are more casual. They watch our show and they react to what we're doing. But then there's the fans who are, and he, as he says, you're one click away from experiencing WWE on a second level. That second, we book to the second level. When there's a ruckus with Tiffany and Charlotte, that's real. And reporters pick up on it like I did and go, hey, I'm hearing there, this is legit tension. It's not just made to look bad. If you trust my reporting, my ability to decipher trusted sources from misinformation, I'm telling you, I'm passing along what I believe is the truth, which is these two really don't like each other. And that leaked out on TV in a way that was unscripted. We don't know at what point it went from scripted to unscripted, but it did. And so at some point you got to kind of gain trust of reporting sources, and then when that happens, and it gets, or some people just look and go, it's obvious, something is different there, and they run with it. Well, WWE plays into that. Then they're like, hey, now we have this whole second layer fan base, and it's substantial, who are online all the time, hitting refresh, listening to podcasts like this, those committed fans who want to just dive into everything, and catering to them completely separate from the narrative structure of the TV show can work. I mean, I don't really have a big problem with that. I understand it. It's it's not a totally new thing. I mean, it's been going on for 20 some years, really. I mean, actually longer. I mean, there's been references to the sheets on TV and, what I've been doing and Meltzer's been doing for decades, going back to the 90s. But obviously with social media, the reach is in this new generation. People who grew up in social media and see WWE clips. They don't watch Saturday morning syndicated TV to discover wrestling. It's clips on all their social media accounts. So they know that audience is there and they're playing into it. I don't think that second layer style of engagement, of intentionally trying to engage fans, necessarily conflicts with aligning wrestlers as baby faces who fans are going to cheer for, and doing everything you can within the narrative structure to support that, and finding out who are the wrestlers who people don't like, or what traits does this wrestler have that we think if we amplify people won't like and they'll cheer for them to lose, and then create a support structure around them to make sure they're not cheered but instead booed. Yeah, I think you can still do that, and fans will play along. I mean, fans will play along, but it's again, I don't have all the answers right here. I just know tonight was another example of things falling apart a little bit in that way. Derek Mitchell in the chat says, I agree with you, Wade. One of the many problems with WCW from the Nitro days, the NWO was portrayed as a cool guys, while WCW was fighting for their survival and portrayed as the ineffective baby faces. You need to have strong, cool baby faces. And one of my theories on Cody getting booed, and there's a lot of them, and I think it's a confluence of a variety of things, but one of them is he just didn't stand up to Rock soon enough. He was left hanging for weeks. And I talked about this on the Wade Keller hotline for VIP members. I've done, by the way, did a Wade Keller hotline. It's like 20 minutes, give or take, every day last week, Monday through Friday, and again today. It's a good way for VIP members to kind of get my take on the top level news items of the day in a compact way. And if you don't have time to listen to every show that I'm on, it is a way to kind of get, if you want, kind of the heartbeat of what's on my mind and my reaction to the headlines, and also just keeping you up on the headlines. Awesome. And I talked about this last Monday, the Cody reaction. And I think one of the reasons is he went from the alpha centerpiece to a guy who was portrayed by Rock as, and it was kind of a story they were telling a little bit, but that he wasn't going to last. It was too much. He might be having second thoughts. He's away from his family, and I can make you rich and famous and give you a lighter schedule. And Cody didn't go, screw that. I love my life. I love my job, and I love my fans, and what I stand for. It's what Sammy did tonight. They didn't give Cody that opportunity because Cody was not sure where the storyline was going to go, because Rock really wanted him to turn heel, and Cody ultimately was given a choice to turn it down, and he did. But for those couple of weeks, fans were left hanging going, is he thinking about this? And why hasn't he said no emphatically? And I think it took away a lot of Cody's character's moral standing that we know what he stands for. And I think that hurt him. And so that's an example of why I think you have to be steadfast. And again, Rock has the power, as he reminds everybody every time he talks. He's friends with the higher ups at TKO and Endeavor. When somebody meddles, it can screw things up. And I think people are, frankly, pretty upset behind the scenes in ways that won't go public about how they screwed with Cody. And they do have a mess on their hands. But I think that hurt Cody. So that's an example of protect your baby faces, make sure they stand for something. And I think that's what they do to Sammy tonight. And that's why I didn't dislike what they did tonight. I just, on a personal level, doesn't make it a bad angle. I was expecting some sort of master revelation of this group being different, presented differently, and maybe expanding. So that's a lot, Chris. You can go ahead and respond.
Nah, dude, that's killer. I mean, that's why people listen to your show. All right, so thinking in terms of the kind of babyface breakdown, the Cody piece, the losing our moral compass thing. I think the reason why morality plays work is because they give us things that we can aspire to, even if it's on a subconscious level, right?
Yep.
You don't have to be watching these shows and be consciously thinking, I want to be better like Cody. But that's how that stuff works. It encodes meaning on us.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, by stripping that away, you end up preventing us from engaging with it on a deeply empathetic and emotional level, which then is what convinces us to invest our lives and our money in it, right?
Yep.
What's going to end up happening is by satisfying the kind of clickbait viral moment or
the ephemeral sugar rush of a social media feedback loop.
I mean, that like brain science tells us that people are just going to get tired and move on, right? Yeah. If they don't have stuff to sink their teeth into. I'm interested to see what happens with Cody when they come back. I mean, he looked extraordinarily weak to me coming out of that match. I know people are trying to say that match in particular was John Cena's ruining wrestling. I think that's total BS. I don't think WWE is intelligent enough to pull off an angle of deconstruction like that.
Yeah.
I think it was just bad, and it looked bad, right? And so, yeah, all of that wraps into Seth Rollins tonight. We got this whole idea that they are, quote, the vision for the future. But what does that even mean? Those were very nebulous terms that felt like they were buying time a little bit to figure out what exactly they're going to say, how they're going to articulate this. You get what I'm saying right there? Like that just felt hollow to me.
Yeah. We'll go back. This kind of ties in a comment from Teachers Talking. Let's go back to the chat here. I agree with Jaron to some degree. It costs so much. It seems like people are going, knowing what they want to do and not letting the story dictate what they say or do. People aren't going for the morality play. And, and I don't think people want to go to something that is seen as a morality play. But the idea is deep down, when we are rooting for somebody, we want to root for people for the reasons that Pat McAfee laid out. Like, you want to root for somebody who stands on a desk, stands up for friendship and loyalty to his friends, and says how he wants to be remembered. And he says these earnest, altruistic things. I know there's like a alt-right bro culture that's like, be selfish, screw that, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's out there. But I don't think that's the pro wrestling audience. Mm-hmm. And I think the pro wrestling audience goes, and they've been wildly cheering for Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and Rhea Ripley when they thought she stood for something, wildly cheering for them for a reason, which is they stand for something that makes us feel good and we want to see them triumph. It is, as you've talked about, kind of a vicarious experience that you get joy out of. And I mean, we're their sports teams. We make enemies out of the other team, and we look past the foibles and cheap shots at some players on our team. Like, I'll watch a sporting event. I'll be like, how can anyone cheer for that away team when that player did what he did? And then I'm like, all right, but there's that player in my team that did that a couple of games ago, but I'm still rooting for my team.
About him.
So we have to rationalize. But pro wrestling doesn't have to deal with that. The home team is everyone's home team, and the away team is everybody's away team. So, I mean, that's the crowd is not going because they're rooting now for a certain outcome. They're rooting for an experience where they're part of the show. Right. And, I mean, the Europe crowds were not the problem, but they were a different kind of amplification of it because, American fans are thinking, hey, every time they go to Europe, the crowd's the story. We want to be that too. And I think that plays out too. So interesting. So. All right. Well, we could stay on the subject and keep talking because I think it's a really interesting subject. I don't have it all worked out in my head. But I know that what I would like to have seen, and I think what WWE for sure would have rather had happen tonight, is Heyman, Seth, and Breakker standing in the ring and mentioning CM Punk's name and fans going, F you, Seth, boo, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. And they didn't get that. And even Seth seemed relieved when he waited, and then there was a little CM Punk chant. Like, oh, that's more like it. That's who I think you people are. They're trying in the ring to steer things. I think it's time for everyone in that company, all the top people, sit down and go, this is a problem. It's like the whole John Cena thing. Oh, as long as I know people in the company said, as long as he's getting a reaction, it's good. Well, yeah, it's better than no reaction. It's better than no reaction to get a mixed reaction. But you know what? Your goal should be to get the reaction that you're aiming for.
Just work harder to get the one you want.
Yes. Don't resign yourself to, because the problem is these promoters and bookers and wrestlers are like, this is what we wanted. No, it's not. You're rationalizing this is what you wanted. You're rationalizing this is better than a dead crowd in an empty building. Yes, what's happening now is better than a dead crowd in an empty building or a dead crowd in a full building. It is. But there's something better to go for, and that peak experience. And there's things that are just kind of, and we get it in other ways. I mean, it shows up in other places on these shows. So it's not like it's out of reach. It's just enough top storylines are not experiencing the types of crowd reactions that they are truly aiming for. They are not aiming for this. So let's go to CJ. Are you ready for us to be our first caller? It's been a while since we got to you soon enough, so I don't know if you're still awake in there. I don't see your camera on. Okay, that's fine. There you are. Oh. Hey, CJ, welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Good to talk to you tonight.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can. Very loud and clear. What's up?
So let's talk about the Becky segment.
All right. Oh, yeah. Yes. Do you expect them to keep Bayley out to the pay-per-view? Oh, yeah. Well, if you mean does she show up on like the week before the pay-per-view, if it's going to be a Becky Bayley one-on-one match? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She could show up before then in that sense. Yeah. What do you think, Chris? I mean, do you think it's inevitable we get Bayley Becky at Backlash, or is it a longer story arc?
I think Backlash would be too soon for those two. I think we're getting Becky Lyra at Backlash for the belt, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. What did they book for next? Yeah, that's not for Raw next week. That's for Backlash.
But so Becky and Bayley's is inevitable. Yeah.
So Bayley could show up in support of Lyra and be at ringside for her before Backlash, or be at ringside for her at Backlash. Yeah. I think there's, I don't know. I think there's CJ, are you able to be patient? Like, you understand she's alive and she's well, and there's all kinds of other wrestling to enjoy. Her name is being mentioned on TV. She's part of a storyline. You'll be okay if it takes a little longer for her to be back on TV.
Yes, but I still think it's BS. They took Mania away from her. Come on. They could have started this angle the night after. They didn't have to take the Mania match away from her.
She didn't want the Mania match. She really wanted to be home. She had a wedding to go to. I'm making all that up, but I'm just trying to tell you it's possible she's okay with it.
Yeah. No kidding. Do you expect it to be the exact same Bayley, or do you expect there to be a little tweak in her character? She's obviously going to be the baby face here. What do you think?
Chris, talk about that. Talk about Bayley's involvement in this, but also use this as a chance, as CJ is bringing up, this promo with Becky, and how you feel about it as a follow-up. Because she had to explain herself. How'd you feel about it?
First thing is, I'll say I feel vindicated, because on the WrestleMania post show that I did with Brandon, I floated, hey, I wonder if they're going to pull Bayley as the one who took Becky's the one who took out Bayley, like Naomi did Jade. Oh, no. And then when it happened tonight, I felt vindicated. Second, I think what we'll see with Bayley is something different. She's been on this sort of weird, strange journey since WrestleMania 40, had the weird music. We've talked about a sort of less defined character. I'd like to see a revamp. I'd like to see maybe something with a bit more, not edge and like a gothy edgelord sense, but something perhaps a little bit rougher around the edges than what this last presentation was. A bit realer, maybe, is what I'd say. Some refreshment.
What would you like to see, CJ, in terms of what you think would be good for Bayley's character if she, like what Chris is saying? It's like what we said for Seth. Like it has impact if you come back and feels like there's something different about you, so people look at you through a fresh lens.
I think she could use a bit more of an edge But what she really needs is a good planned out storyline.
Right.
Again, last year, everything was booked so crappy. Like a week or two in advance, there's no real story to it. I don't know if it was just because other people were injured and there was a little bad situation there, so I don't want to blame Triple H too much about it. But I think with a good planned storyline that fans could sink their teeth into, because a lot of people love Bayley. I'm not the only one. Okay. She could really get going again. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, Bayley's talented. I mean, and she's got good, well built up with fans. She's a good wrestler. She's likable. She's good at playing a heel, good at playing a face. And obviously, there's criticism of Levesque's booking of the women's division in general. I don't think Roxanne Perez fans are happy with how she's been presented. Just sort of this weird start-stop. I don't think there was a lot of passion in the match at the top of the show tonight. With Rhea Ripley. I mean, the crowd's like, well, we like Rhea, but we don't know a lot about Roxanne, and there's mixed signals as far as who she is, and what they did last week wasn't enough to cement my viewpoints on her. So, whatever they do with Bayley, I hope it's, like you do, CJ, it's a good storyline that's well thought out. I don't think Bayley should be the top priority of WWE. If you were in charge, you would make her the top priority. I get, we all get that.
Not necessarily. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I gotta play into that a little, given
I want to steal a WrestleMania match away from her. That's for sure.
Yeah. So JC Scooby, CJ says Bayley needs to get better in the ring. She's been sloppy since her return from surgery 2 years ago. You know what? I'm not gonna validate or invalidate the framing of it because I don't think it's super relevant. I think Bayley, regardless of how you feel about her promo work and her in-ring work, what matters is that she has this legacy relationship with fans. And let's say she is sloppy in the ring. That is not an excuse for her to not get a push because, one, I'm not even necessarily agreeing with that. Let's stipulate to that as a possibility. That doesn't stop a lot of wrestlers from being over. And so the idea with Bayley is put her, as CJ advocates, in a storyline that people can get behind, a character that is clear how we're supposed to feel about her, whether it's a heel or a face. And Becky might be a good person, given their background, to feud with. And if Bayley's coming to the aid of Lyra, that's kind of like McAfee coming to the defense of Michael Cole. It feels like it's a good vibe. So, CJ, last thoughts on Bayley, and then bring up anything else you want, and then we'll keep rolling here.
But yeah, I completely agree with you. She could use a little more edge and maybe a little better theme music. But to be fair, that could be said about like 90% of the roster. The music has been better in the past, to say it nicely.
Yeah.
And then with Roxanne, kind of goes with Bayley. Like it looked like they were going in that direction, and then they just dropped it after the Elimination Chamber. Do you think the Triple H and the higher ups saw her at Elimination Chamber and went, "Hey, you're not quite ready for prime time," or was it maybe NXT wasn't ready to give her up? A little bit of both. What do you think?
Well, Mike Steff in the chat says, really doing a disservice, doing Roxanne a disservice with her lack of direction. Now she's teaming up with Julia for no particular reason. I think that, and Chris, tell me what you think, that Levesque just isn't tending to enough. And it's not just the women, but the women are not the top 4 or 5 things.
Right.
And I don't think he's giving enough attention. And I think if we sat down and charted it out, it might be a pattern that it's a higher percentage with the women than with the men, even after the top 3, 4, 5 programs. Right. But there's just not a real attentiveness and consistency to the undercard. And I mean, it's a tough job. WrestleMania season is busy, but he's got a whole staff, a whole crew, and I think he should be able to just delegate and go, let's do a better job with this. But yeah, what do you think about CJ's question about the timing of everything since the Chamber?
There have been a couple of things that have felt like they've dropped. I mean, I know the Alexa Bliss and the Wyatt Six thing is due to injury, but that also was weird to bring her back and then to not have her even get like kidnapped off camera. So they're doing these things that are strange where it feels like they've tried to fire some things, maybe not out of desperation, but thinking that, stuff's going to pay off, and it just doesn't. It feels like this period really is a reset. I mean, it's post WrestleMania. So hopefully we see some developments. But Wade, I do tend to agree with you. I think the poor development of the women's undercard has, in particular, made these new titles seem almost meaningless upon arrival, particularly Lyra's Intercontinental belt. So it's got to be tightened up. Yeah. You got your muted there, Wade. Oh, still muted.
I double clicked my mute button.
Double.
Unmuted and muted myself. Oh, the streak lives, I think. Or I restarted. It's like Wordle, I think. Oh no, I did miss yesterday. All right, it's a new streak. CJ, anything else besides Bailey you want to talk about?
One last thing on Bailey.
One last.
Do you think they'll keep her with Lyra, or do you think she's just gonna help Lyra beat Becky and then move on with that, and then have a scene?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think she should come back, obviously involved in Lyra's storyline. I mean, and so I think they could maybe form a team, like stick together as a team as Becky moves on to other things. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't think I think it can work either way. I don't think you want Bailey to be like Christian Cage in AEW, where it's like a player coach. Like, I think she already kind of had that a little bit in the last faction. I think that you want her to either be in a tag team with someone where you just go, they're friends, they're loyal to each other, and they're going to be this way for a while, or just go their separate ways and she gets in another program. Chris, do you have a preference or a leaning?
I think I'd prefer to see her do some really cool tag team stuff for a while, have a well-defined tag identity, work on tandem moves, right? Like increase her bag, her repertoire. That could be a fascinating way to move forward, and one that would be really fun to watch, I think.
All right, CJ, anything else?
Yes. Do you see CM Punk being champion this year?
Good question. I'm not ruling it out. Chris, you're shaking your head. Go ahead, jump in.
No.
Well, my sadness, my gut says no.
Really?
I'd like to see it. I just don't
do you
know.
say that because Jay, I mean, I don't know what kind of shakeup there's going to be, if there's going to be a draft or not, where people are going to shake out. But if Cena loses a title, I think it should be to Cody, but it could be to Punk. If Jay loses a title, it's not going to be to CM Punk, but it could be a transition, Gunther to Punk or some other heel first to Punk. I don't know if Punk wants the secondary world title. He might rather wait and have a WrestleMania moment winning the title. But I mean, I won't rule it out, CJ. I mean, I really think Rock messed up a lot. I mean, Cody was supposed to be feuding with somebody else right now, like as a babyface defending champion going in. I don't know if right now, but like this summer, that just isn't going to happen now. From what I've heard, like, I mean, the Cena turning heel and then winning the title and the retirement tour going the direction it's going has displaced other plans. So yeah, I don't know if they even have it locked down at this point, CJ, because I think there's enough up in the air.
So you definitely don't think you see Randy Orton beating Cena at Backlash?
I think the odds are super low. I think they're super low. I don't think he's the right guy to do that. But I mean, I think they did a good job introducing the idea of Orton chasing Cena's record. That could make Cena enraged. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think this is it's a B-level pay-per-view. If they were going to do that, I think they would have saved Orton for SummerSlam.
Again, one last thing really quick. I can't think, every time I hear Backlash, I don't know about you, but I always think of that Joey Styles shoot promo in, what is it, like 06? I'm not good enough to call Backlash. You remember?
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my mind, but
cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, CJ. All right.
See you, man.
All right, cool. Let's bring Sean from Tennessee into the conversation. Sean Fletchta, what's going on?
It's been a while.
It has.
Chris, how are you, man?
Good.
I was sure I said something to upset you finally.
No, well, wait, I wanted to talk about something real quick, real fast. I want to just say, because Chris is on here, and Chris, you did a great job with Brandon, 100%. I wanted to apologize to you, Wade, because obviously I'm not a contributor to your site. Obviously,
Sean, talk about this off air, because this doesn't need to be on the show.
Yeah, okay.
I think you're going a wrong direction anyway, but yeah, just it seems like in-house business. What you're saying sounds like you're reading into something that isn't there.
Well, I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to
Well, go ahead, finish it. I'm talking over you. Go ahead and make your point. I've wasted more time than I probably would have taken you to.
No, I was just going to say that I didn't, we didn't really ask you beforehand, and I just wanted to say, if I'm going to be on a show like that, even though I enjoyed being on the show, I just think I should be a contributor, and that I should do what you have said. You're a contributor. I just wanted to bring that up, and that's all. I enjoyed doing the shows with Brandon. I thought they were fun and all that. But
you were great. I told Brandon that too. I know exactly where I was driving when I was listening to your the first show that you did with him, going in depth on everything. I loved it.
Cool.
So really, I mean, Brandon was like, "Hey, Sean volunteered to do this." I'm like, "Great." We hadn't arranged for anybody yet. That doesn't mean I don't want to rotate other people in,
right?
For sure. And I didn't take it as you were thinking it was a permanent slot for you. So you have nothing to apologize for.
But it was fun. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick, and that was all.
Yeah, cool.
So going back to what you said, the thing that frustrated me more about Seth when he came out was...
And Sean, by the way, I didn't want to bring up all those texts and emails you sent saying, why is Chris on and not me? I wasn't going to bring that up, but I did just choose to ignore those. And I thought it was a little weird that you said, especially Chris. And you got into certain reasons, and I don't want to bring them up here, but...
Chris Adams? Yes. I was like,
there's only room for one bald guy, I guess, right? Like
Al Larcher in the chat says this is awkward.
There's nothing awkward about this at all. There's a lot of things way more awkward than this, I promise you.
Just wait till the next hour. Oh, we're an hour two. Wait till later this hour. Yeah.
So with Seth, he... especially when he's, slapping hands coming out, and then he's, wanting them to say his name, Seth freaking Rollins. It's like, no, that's exactly what you said, Wade. That's what we're not wanting to do. And sometimes I'm willing to let it play out and say, okay, maybe he's going to get into this heel shtick in a different way. But he kept going for the face stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not what we need. We need you to be a heel, and that's what you should be. And that's a heel. And all the way, not 50%, not 40%. There's a good gray area, but that's not it. So I didn't like that at all. I mean, I loved Sammy's promo. I loved where they ultimately went. But again, like you said, the crowd is going to do their thing because Seth's letting the crowd do because he's not really a face, not really a heel. He just kind of is what he is right now. And so they need to change that. They need to change it quick. And then going back to Roxanne, but I wanted to say this with Stephanie too. I want Roxanne and Stephanie on WWE main roster television. I think they're both really good characters, but for Stephanie especially, the matches she's had so far have been fine. They've been really good. If you're the NXT champion, I just wish you would stay on NXT television until you're officially not in the... Because I just want... I know they try to she's the NXT champion. This is a way to get her on the main roster and kind of show what she can do even. But I want them to be properly defined. Okay, you're not the NXT champion anymore. Your time to be on the main roster. Let's give you some video packages to show who you are and then build you up to the main roster. And not just have you on matches, but then you go back to NXT or back to WWE. I'm not a fan of that. What do you guys think?
Yes. I wish that there was a clear idea of what we should be thinking it means, and what it does mean to be an NXT wrestler who shows up on Raw or SmackDown, and we don't have a clear idea of what that means. Is it a moment of celebration? Is it a moment of transition? Is it a visit that may or may not last? What dictates why an NXT wrestler shows up on Raw or SmackDown? If they're at both places, does that continue? Is there a rule for it? Is there some structure for it? I think it's really sloppy, and I think there should be a grand entrance and like with Fraxium. I was complimentary on Friday about it. That the way Joe Tessitore phrased it, they had a setback, but they have a chance. And he had a great phrase on SmackDown. He's really good with his words, and I'm sure he's got help on some of this stuff because it's very they've got their lines that they feed to their announcers too when they want to frame things a very particular way. And he's pretty new, but whatever the context of it, he said they have a chance at a fresh start. And it wasn't a promotion or a demotion. It was they had a long title reign. Again, I talked about this in the Wade Keller hotline too, or maybe it was on the SmackDown review I did on that show. That I think it made sense to the way that they phrased it, which is you can have a title reign for a long time in NXT, and when you lose it, it might be you've long belonged on the main roster, but you were a reigning champion in NXT, so you got to keep the title. But the moment you lose it, then you get now you get rewarded. It's like now you get rewarded. It's like having a great college career, but when it comes to an end, there's hockey players who play college hockey, and then when their season ends, they go right to an NHL team that has their rights like the next week, and they finish out the NHL season or debut in the playoffs. And so that happens, but it should be framed in a certain way. And I will say this, I haven't said this in a long time, but I've never gotten the impression, in fact, I've gotten the opposite impression, that Paul Levesque is a sports fan. He liked, bodybuilding shows. He liked pro wrestling, but I never got the sense like he followed sports. So that's part of the culture of, I think, most WWE fans. Not all, because there's definitely people who like wrestling and aren't into sports. But I think wrestling is a simulated sport, and there should be an adherence to how sports has a structure to it. And you get called up from the minors, and there's rules to it. You don't play for the minor league team and the major league team. And in fact, there's there is like the G League in the NBA where you can get called up if there's an injury and it gets sent back, but there's an explanation for it. There's someone injured, and they could do that. They go, Rey Mysterio's injured. That's open up a roster spot. We're calling this wrestler up from NXT, but they're only here as long as Rey is out. Something like that. So I think people like structure, and I think this chaos and randomness is taking some of the joy and the fun and the anticipation away from call-ups, because now NXT fans who watch that show, and it's a pretty substantial portion of the Raw audience, by the way, are like, what's going on here? Am I supposed to be happy? Is this permanent? Is it a visit? There's no structure to it. It feels like they're randomly filling a 2.5-hour show. It's a bummer. Chris, you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I say this is like a super fan of Stephanie Vaquer. She doesn't belong on the show walking out with the belt booked in just a regular old match, right? There was nothing spectacular about it. That being said, I think it was even stranger having Julia do a run-in, because ostensibly they, like, everybody in Gorilla would have seen her, right? Like, within the story, you have this person whose home base is Orlando, who works in Orlando, who trains in Orlando, who is not on tour, showing up, interfering the match that you've booked and you've planned for on TV. That feels a bit sloppy in that sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And maybe not necessarily, sloppy. It just feels poorly thrown together, trying to figure out what works. And then, embarrassingly enough, my wife pointed out Julia's weave was almost falling out. So it was just an all-around bad look for her tonight, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, and with and especially with Rhea and Roxanne, it's like, I am getting sick of non-finishes on WWE television. I'm getting sick of it. I mean, why are we, like, I'm not going to go on my soapbox because I can do what Wade does, and he does it really well. Why are we going 15 minutes when we know we're not going to get a finish? Like, why?
You know what I did tonight in my written TV report on Raw is I tried to put an end to this in case Levesque is monitoring my TV reports. Right. I called that the Tony Khan specialty. And I figured that would totally get Levesque to stop doing it if he thinks it's something Tony Khan has been criticized for, where you have this long match where everybody knows the outcome, but it's still this long match. And there's no suspense in who's going to win.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it just hurts Roxanne even more because we expect she's going to lose, but then it's like, but stop putting her on TV to lose. Like, get her off of NXT television. Stop having her have a main match with Vaquer on NXT television. Get her up to the main roster and start putting her in something, whatever, to get her, sink her teeth into the main roster television. Stop going back and forth. It's wishy-washy. It's weird.
Nobody watching Vaquer and Ivy Nile wrestle for 10 minutes thought that anyone but Vaquer were going to win. And nobody watching Rhea and Roxanne, I mean, maybe a little more. I mean, maybe the people who are really into Roxanne might think, hey, there's an upset and they're telling some story. But I mean, very, very small percent, a little bit bigger than Ivy Nile, because Ivy Nile is not someone who's going to beat Vaquer. I think that's obvious to even a more novice casual viewer. But yeah, you just doing a long match where the outcome is an AEW specialty. In Tony Khan's mind, it's as long as it's good wrestling, people want that. But that was a criticism. Even go back to the early years with Cody, and he'd have these long matches with people. Cody's going to win. How engaging is it when you 100% know the outcome, but they just go on? And the idea is, well, if the wrestling is good, yeah, maybe that mitigates it, but the suspense isn't there. And you want some suspense, or you want to keep it short, at least most of the time.
Yeah. And going back to Lyra, we didn't talk about her at all. And I'm kind of surprised. So we talked about the Lyra's Intercontinental title doesn't really mean anything, right? Well, so Becky turned on her and I've been in the minority, and I probably will be, and that's fine. I want to be in the minority in some things, but Becky, I think the ultimate thing with Becky turning on Lyra was to try to get some life out of Lyra. She's not very good in the character department. Like, we don't really know who she is. She's not very defined. And I think they did that. And I think Lyra's promo was good tonight. I
think so
liked
too.
it. I thought she was fired up. It showed some fire from her that we haven't seen. Let's praise that. It was
totally
good.
It wasn't great. It doesn't need to be great. It was good. It was like, I liked her. Like she seemed like she seemed like a regular person. She wasn't jumping off the screen as like, whoa, but she doesn't need to. Just let her show people who she is.
She used different vocal inflections tonight too, which I noticed is like,
And I think you want them to, it's what it needed to be. It's what it needed to be. It hit that threshold. I agree with you, Sean, totally.
Yeah, and I think I think this is good. If now what I'm worried about, we talked about the Bayley, because Bayley Becky's going to happen, and that's fine. But I would really just like to see, because I think in this part of Becky's career, she's already done everything she needs to do in WWE. She's one of the biggest stars we've ever seen in the women's division for a good reason. She was awesome. Yes, she got punched in broken nose to do it, but she did it, and it was awesome. She could put Lyra over. If Lyra beats Becky, which I think she should, in a clean match, this could be a pushboard for Lyra to be someone. If she keeps doing the promos that she did tonight and keeps developing that part of her game, I think there's something really there. Is she going to be the biggest star ever? Probably not, but I think there's potential for her, and I think we should see it play out. And everybody's just, I know a lot of people that I talk to, like, she's got the character of a cardboard, and she did, but I think she showed something tonight. There's something there with her to get out, and I think she did that.
Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. I think she was good tonight, and sometimes it takes a little work and a little practice, and there's nothing wrong with that. There should be voice coaches, there should be acting coaches, there should be promo coaches, and work with people. I mean, if you're going to put them on national TV in front of millions of people, spend some time. They've got the funding. Yeah, they have the resources to make everybody the best they can be at what they do when they're on camera. So people aren't on social media, going, this person, I'm not connecting with them. I don't know who they are, and they look cardboard and all that. There shouldn't be anyone put on TV who is put out there to fail. You want to put people on when they're ready to go. Sean, anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. Rusev obviously had the little promo, the little backstage vignette thing. I mean, I want good things for him, because when he was in WWE before, even without, Lana, helped him at the beginning, but by himself, he was really, really good as a, crusher. And I thought, him and Cena had some good feuds. I thought they did some good stuff. Where do you think his ceiling can be? Because I don't think he's ever going to be. I think he could have a main event title match, but I don't think he'll ever win a main title. Do you think differently? Do you think what's the ceiling for him since with coming back to WWE?
What do you think, Chris?
I think he only signed a 2-year contract, is what I heard. So I imagine there's just no way they're building him into some massive program. Starting a program with Otis does not bode well for one's world title, prospects, but I could totally be wrong. I kind of liked what I heard in the promo. I thought it was interesting, making a veiled reference to AEW as the Abyss, which was a shot if there ever was one. My God. But I actually kind of liked the idea of somebody going away, being reformed, coming back. And it seems like what we're going to be getting is like Miro with the name Rusev.
This is
himself. Right?
He is himself now, and he became a little bit more himself, for better or for worse. I think there's a curated version of him that would have been better in AEW, with a little more guidance. But WWE provides that, just like Cody. Cody's a better version of himself than in AEW, where his best instincts were reined in a little bit in certain ways, and it's worked really well for him. But I liked. I thought it was fine. Do you think there's a mystery coming out of it, whether he's going to be going after bad guys and be a good guy, so to speak?
I know it felt muddy. I don't know.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little mystery for this week and next week, but not beyond. Get to a point where we know. don't make it indiscriminate. But yeah, I felt like his wording was intentionally, Sean, I think, ambiguous, and maybe to lead people to think he's going to be trying to take out people with big egos who are full of themselves and all those other things he said. But in reality, he's going to be aiming at good people, and his view of morality and who are good and bad people is flawed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, and Sadler Version 3 says, I assume he's a heel if he's facing Otis.
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good indicator. I mean, I think there's enough indicators, but I think the wording was meant to create a sense that he might look at things differently than we do.
Chaotic neutral is how we would describe him in the D&D world.
Yeah. Durrell in the chat, by the way, says Rusev's promo was good first step on hopefully a journey he should be on, and he doesn't need to be put in something big first. Let him build up who he is and what he is about. I mean, there's a chance he'll face Otis, and it'll turn out there'll be some heels who come out and mock Otis, and Rusev will come to his defense. And, I mean, like, I'm not ruling out the possibility that Otis is actually a portal to get his character into a babyface role. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just maybe. Yeah.
So 2 quick things. Wade, this is not a spoiler because there's no game tonight, but I hope you guys crush the Lakers because I can't stand LeBron. This, I'm 40, I'm too tired. Like, stop with that bull crap. He's one of the best players to ever play the game. If he's not too tired, stop playing. So
or get a new coach. He's done that before.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Don't. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to say that. And then New Day War Raiders again. No. And I like the War Raiders. I think they're fine. New Day was great on commentary tonight, but I don't want that match for an 18th billionth time. Do we really need to see that again? Well, what did you think of that and that craziness? I just didn't understand that at all. I know it's a babyface and heel. I mean, I get that, but I just, man, do we need to see it again?
I mean, the match they had tonight on Raw was better than the WrestleMania match that New Day and War Raiders had.
Yeah, I'm enjoying New Day on commentary as heels, but yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have some true, but maybe for Axiom as a start. We'll see. Sean, we do have our on-site correspondent from Kansas City ready to join us now. Just called in. So
awesome. But go VIP, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Always fun talking with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah,
good seeing you again.
Yep,
absolutely. All right. So let's bring on our on-site correspondent, DJ, who is a fan of something called the Chiefs. We're not familiar with is that a team? Is that like a local high school team, CJ?
They're a Pop Warner team.
They're what?
Pop Warner.
Oh,
can you not hear me?
Yeah,
Little League football, Wade.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Tell me what your top takeaway was from tonight. We've been talking about the crowd reaction being more into the communal chants and kind of surprising boos and cheers some of the night. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. It was one of those. I mean, I've been a WWE fan since I was 8 years old. So this has been going on for 35 years, and I've been a fan, and especially in recent times, exactly what you've been preaching for week in and week out about a lot of gray area, a lot of everyone's a little good, everyone's a little bad. It does make for an experience. I was really confused a lot of the times, especially like you guys were talking at the very, with Sammy and Braun of the one more time, and the people that are sitting to the right of me, I can hear them starting that, one more time. I'm like, what are we doing? So it was very confusing in the arena. When they're screaming, Seth's song, singing along, and I'm just so confused as I thought, communally we love Sammy, and then what Seth and Braun is doing is not so cool. I don't understand the need to. I'm just going to blurt out stuff because it sounds fun or sounds, it's novel versus being immersed in the story, paying attention to what's going on. So it was very strange, very, very strange. It was a good show. I do apologize. I missed the first 20. When I got there, it was literally in the middle of Rhea and Roxanne's match.
Oh, okay. Well, that scratches my next question.
Okay, yeah. So if something happened at the very beginning, I do not know. Yeah. So I definitely apologize. Running late from work, and having to come home and get the kid and get out there. But it was a very weird show. You know, I was really, when I saw the date, I didn't put two and two together. I was initially excited. Oh, we got the Raw after Mania. And then I looked, I was like, oh, dang. Yeah, I was a week late. Well,
you got the Raw after the Raw after Mania.
Yeah, which was, you know, it was a good show. I enjoyed myself. My 11-year-old enjoyed himself. But there are some pieces of the show that I was, like I said, I was dumbfounded. I didn't understand as a crowd what we were doing. It was so weird.
I throw this in so I don't forget, and then I want to follow up on that. Sean Plitch just says the ticket prices are getting ridiculous. He went to the show and now he has to file for bankruptcy. And there was a sign at Mania that said, "I will never financially recover from this." The ticket prices are so high and people are paying them. And WWE sees that as validating, and they ought to. They earned this goodwill with fans. And the wrestler, you know, when I say WWE, I don't just mean corporate higher up suits and Paul Levesque. I mean, the wrestlers have worked their ass off to get over and connect with fans. And I mean, it's been a team effort and they have it, but you don't want to screw it up. So I want to throw it back to you. DJ, do you think the crowd experience being weird affected your enjoyment? And do you think it's a minority of fans that are messing it up for the majority? Or do you think the majority are just there to, quote, have fun and kind of be part of the show? Like, there's fans who react to things hoping they are noticed by the director and put on television. And you get these over-the-top reactions to things. Crowds are so, yeah, I'm loading on my question here, but like, I think some crowds just want to be heard. They want to be on national TV being part of the show instead of reacting to it. So is it the majority, the vast majority, or a minority? And elaborate more on what felt weird as you answer that.
Yeah, I would definitely, I wouldn't say it's a minority of the quote unquote disruptors. And at least here, it felt like you would have that minority kind of start something up and everyone else is more or less just playing along. It's like, oh, well, they're screaming, this is awesome. And into a Ivy Nile Stephanie match, which I'm not saying it was bad, but in my brain, that's relegated to legit, awesome, performances. Not poo-pooing on what Stephanie and Ivy did. But I think it's one of those things that I think we can all understand what I'm trying to say. As far as the price point and feeling of if it's whether I'm paying this money, I'm gonna do what I want. I mean, I'll divulge. We sat on the floor, right behind Michael Cole and Pat, off to the left-hand side, 2 rows back. So literally, I was pretty right in front. And we paid for me and my son's seats. I paid like $6 something. Yeah. So about $300 a pop for those seats. Yeah. And I've gone before that I'm sitting on the barricade, and me and my best friend. Now, granted, this was also during this was like very post-COVID. So like when they were really starting to run back up again, we paid $200 to sit on the barricade. So in relation to what they cost now, yeah, they're a lot more. But I don't think that is something that gives people agency of going out and kind of somewhat going against the grain and kind of just blurting out whatever. I think it's a minority of people that kind of start things up. And then as a community, everybody's like, well, that sounds pretty fun. Let's do that. So I think it's a mixture of both. I don't think it's the norm or the majority of people. I think this is a small minority of people, as we've seen in this country. That's something.
Go ahead. What?
I was going to say, yeah, that's based on, as what's going on in the country, and you get a minority of people that just won't shut up, and then next you have a dumb enough. Anyway, back to your question.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's communal in a sense of that minority gets things going.
So a couple things. One, I don't want to couple too much the ticket prices and the crowd reactions. It was more of a quip and an aside that if you pay that much money, you're like, I want to be part of the show. I feel like I've earned the right to be disruptive or whatever. But it's sort of separate, because one of the defenses for the ticket prices being what they are. Well, the obvious one is people are paying it. They're filling these buildings up. That's capitalism.
Yep.
It just makes sense. If these wrestlers are putting a lot on the line, and if this means their pay is going up, and it ought to be, hopefully, or the other side is they're getting so much more per show now that they don't have to wrestle as often, and their bodies aren't going to be as beat up, and they're going to be home with their families more. And that's something we at the Torch have been advocating for decades. If you go back to the 90s and you listen to our old radio shows or the early 2000s, and especially read what we're writing, we were advocates for mandatory time off for wrestlers, and we predicted so many deaths, not specific names, but like that this was going to be a problem as wrestlers aged. We were against chair shots to the head and indiscriminate use of steroids and lack of attention to concussions and lead to suicides and families breaking up and broken down wrestlers and all of that. And we really advocated for systematic mandatory time off in some form or fashion, even during the house show era. That's been something we've been really pushing for a long time. We have that now. Wrestlers want time off. They get it. They're not punished for the most part. Haven't heard of any exceptions to that. And the schedule is lighter. Paul Levesque talked about that. Other wrestlers have talked about it. It's a much better schedule now because they're running these big stadium shows and the paydays are bigger and the gates are bigger and they're running fewer TV shows, but they're charging more money per ticket. So it's good for wrestlers as long as all the corporate people at the top aren't taking all the profits. You want the wrestlers, obviously, and if they don't have a union, they don't have collective bargaining, it's up to management to treat them well and pay them really well so they don't even think that they're not being treated well enough that they have to collectively get together and bargain. So all that said, the ticket prices are what they are because what was happening is when WWE sold a ticket that's now $300 for $120, it was selling, people were buying it and then reselling it to people who were willing to pay $300, and it was the reseller who made their $160 minus, the brokerage fee or whatever. So the ticket prices going up for concerts and entertainment in general is in response to monitoring what the actual demand and what people were willing to pay was. And the concert promoters and the wrestling promoters, they just said, and sports teams owners, sports leagues just said, why are we letting a bunch of people buy cheap tickets and resell them for a profit when they've done nothing to contribute to the product? All they did is buy a ticket quickly. They study the market. They put the ticket up for bid. So they know what people are willing to pay, and now the money's going to them. So that's my defense of it, and I do think there's some merit to that. So let's set that aside for a second. The idea, though, of this being a communal experience, but it's a minority, is really interesting. And this is why I like to talk to people like you, DJ, and I encourage more people who are attending these shows to let us know. wadekellerpodcast at gmail.com. If you're attending Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown, let me know if you can do what DJ is doing and call us up after the show and talk to us. I want to get more of a sense. When you're in the building, is it a minority who are really loud? Years ago, I talked about the bellwether fans, like that there's a committed, hardcore, ardent fan base, whatever you want to call them, who kind of set the trend for the rest of the audience who are kind of followers. And, it's human nature. Like, oh, there's this pocket of people chanting something. That looks like fun. They know what they're talking about. Let me join in. And so if that's what's happening, then it's I don't know if it's more or less of a problem, if it's more or less manageable, but it helps you understand what's happening better. And maybe it's more manageable, but you still have these influencers in the crowd who are influencing things. Chris, your thoughts on any of this, and we'll go back to DJ.
Yeah, you're right in that capitalism is created the environment in which we're going to keep paying more for the things that we really love because they figured out we really love them, right? I'm with Standard Deviation, who commented below. I'm kind of surprised to hear what you said, that it wasn't so much WWE's greed as recognizing that's what people were willing to pay. So of course they ought to take care of it. Yeah. I mean, with the economy going the way it is, these prices are going to have to plateau, or we're going to see shrinking attendance. I think that's inevitable.
And then they'll lower the prices. I mean, it is supply. I mean, it's just so Econ 101, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get away with it, you do. And if you can't, I learned from Econ class, COGS, cost of goods sold. Everything above cost of goods sold is I'm dumbing this down, but it's profit, and so, with, there's some flexible overhead and all that, but, what are your cost of goods sold? And then what can you charge above it to make a profit? I am not worried about wrestlers who are making $6 million or $3 million or $2 million having their pay drop by 40%. If that's the way the market moves, it's too bad for them. I'm not rooting for it, but they're still fine. Same with these sports athletes. Like, all these baseball, the value of the team's going to go down. Let's do a whole sports talk show worried about the owners, the value of these teams going down. I'm like, I'm not worried about billionaires and their how they keep score. What I worry about, though, is the fan experience for the people who are making it all work. And if it's a minority who are screwing it up, WWE has the power, but it takes some thought, and it takes an acknowledgement that it is a problem. And I don't know that they're there yet, Chris.
I think the last time we had somebody who called in, an on-site correspondent, said a similar thing, that what we heard as loud boos or loud distracted chants were in fact much less in presence. So this seems to be a recurring thing. It's frustrating, I would think, to be sitting there, especially if you've spent all that money, to have the experience hijacked by people who are probably a couple drinks into their fun time,
And if there's a kid who really likes Sami Zayn and the crowd's chanting one more time, I mean, it's kind of a dick move to be, an adult saying one more time, and the 10 or 9, 10, 11, 12 years are going to be a little confused, and then they're going to be followers and start doing that too. It just, again, I'm not saying they need to police the crowd response, but I'm saying if you're WWE and you're the wrestlers, there's a certain response you want, and I think you should try to diagnose why it's happening and try to steer things in a different direction.
Right.
And singing Seth's song is fun, and it was fine as a babyface. It made him seem more over than he was. I don't think that was the entirety of his popularity. I think he's earned through good matches and loyalty to the brand and all of that a lot, and I think there's a charisma and an appeal to him. But the song was really big. I think with Jay, the reaction to him was not just the eating in the song. I think it was more than with Seth, an actual affection for him as a person and being with him in a Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan way on his in terms of appreciating his journey and rooting for him in a way that isn't there with Seth. But when you turn heel, get rid of the damn song.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Shinsuke Nakamura had a great song. They changed it and made it more ominous and took away some of that kind of. So Sami Zayn, had few notes of his music to get the pop, and then it changed. That was kind of different, but nevertheless, there's things. Music has been tweaked and changed based on the character, and I think they should consider that starting on the edit of tonight's clips. No, at least starting next week.
Fix it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have a question for DJ. Was Braun Breaker as bronze in person as he was on screen tonight?
Yes, most definitely. He was. I thought he was one of my brothers or something. I'm like, oh man, this dude is pretty dark there.
He and MJF don't just share a Netflix password; they also share a tanning salon password.
Oh, clearly! Oh my God!
I'm here all week, folks. Actually, I stole that from the chat. I think
that was
someone
good.
in the chat said that. Well, scroll up and give credit. I would scroll up and give credit, but I don't have time. But whoever it is, restate it with your name, and we'll give you credit. Okay. So I want to get some more details on the reactions. We have people in the chat wanting to know where the crowd reactions line up, such as Becky Lynch and her character. Were the fans booing her?
Yes.
Was that effective? Yeah.
Yeah. There were definitely there was a lot of boos for Becky. It was not it wasn't like there was a want to cheer. It was more or less that was especially after she, of course, admitted that the injury done to Bayley was by her hands. I mean, that's when everyone pretty much was like, okay, even if there was any murmurings of a couple of claps, it was like, okay, after she made that announcement, it was kind of, she was pretty much dead on arrival after that. Surprisingly, and I think Chris mentioned it earlier, someone mentioned it earlier, the pop for Lyra was a little surprising because I know she seemed like a very lukewarm just about everywhere she's been popping up. But this one felt like it was a genuine hey, I think what Becky did to you was pretty terrible. So we're going to kind of side with you. So I really enjoyed that. And the funny thing about the Becky thing is I was actually at the show when Nia broke her nose, and when she was running up the stairs, she was about 3 people away from it. And of course, she does it this time when she's running away. I'm behind the barricade, and she's literally right next to me, and I couldn't get my my camera out fast enough, but it's just very strange how me and Becky keep crossing paths.
So, talk about the reaction to Rhea Ripley also in that arena. She has had, I think, a rough couple months. She's been called, I think, accurately that she's been acting like a child. I'm going to sign the contract that's legally binding, and treating Io Sky like less than a person. And she was, and she's unapologetic about it. I think she should be contrite and be like, yeah, I got lost in my hatred for, or my getting worked up about things. And she hasn't, yet she's still getting cheered. So talk about the crowd reaction from her, and if it seems any different than any of the crowd reactions that you might have been present for with her.
Oh yeah, geez, most definitely. It's definitely cooling down in relation to, of course, the pop she was getting, even when she was, technically a heel with Dom and Judgment Day. She was getting massive pops. Now it was more, it's more muted. It's not as favorite as it was, in past. But the contrast that is with Io when she came out. The crowd exploded, and it's really strange to see how fast people, the pendulum can swing, for someone in literally a blink of an eye. It felt like it was 2 days ago, everyone was, losing their mind over Rhea. Now, again, it's still there, the whole mommy chants and all that stuff during the match. So it's not that I don't think she's losing popularity. I just think she's just losing that massive groundswell that was happening in the past. But that's pretty much anybody. It's, if they're on the chase or if they're, has an actual clear goal, most people can get behind them. But it seems like Rhea's somewhat floundering. It's, is she going to go after Io again, which I'm sure she will. It's hard to put my finger on it, but I don't think she is losing popularity. She's just losing that fire that was behind her.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Softened. Yeah. That's actually really good. It's not that people are booing her or not reacting to her. It just feels less intense. It's burning less hot. Yeah, that's a good way. Yes. Yeah. The NXT women, I don't know if we still call them that, Roxanne Perez, Stephanie Vaquer, what level of recognition is there for them at this stage of their time on the main roster? Vaquer newer, a little bit more defined. Roxanne's been kind of all over the place, but maybe they're trying to find a lane for her now. So yeah, any thoughts on or observations on how they were received and recognized by the fans?
Yeah, Stephanie can be on Raw right now, going for a title. She was the pop for her, the performance she put out. Yeah, she is one that out of everyone they've brought up recently, and I know she's really, really recently. People love her. They're behind her. Roxanne, I don't know. Like her and Julia, I like when Julia came out, it wasn't even that much of an acknowledgement. It was just like, oh, it's a lot of more or less who is that? Who is that? I mean, I watch NXT as well, not as frequently, but I know who people are, and it's definitely if someone that either just watches strictly Raw and SmackDown, yeah, they have no clue who either one of them. Roxanne either, she's had her couple of stints here, go away, come back, go away. She's been playing double dutch with NXT and Raw. I don't know what she would need, or either one of them would need. I know there's been some mention of, hey, turning Bayley again and giving her another faction, but I think that's way too soon. Bayley needs to stay off of TV for a while. I probably wouldn't even bring her back to SummerSlam. But no, the NXT women that they're calling up, I like all of them, but I think Stephanie 100% is at the top of the heap right now.
One other big topic question from the show, and then I'll throw to Chris for anything else before we probably wrap up soon. I'll let you go, DJ. But Pat McAfee stood on that announce desk. I praised that promo. I thought it was a quintessential babyface promo. I stand for everything good. I give all my money to the best charities. It felt earnest. Grew up without much, and now I'm recognized in every state. My dad was a trucker. We weren't privileged in what we got, but I'm going to take my success and pass it on to my friends, family, and community. For people who didn't see the promo, he said he gave back a lot. He gave millions to his community, including children's hospitals, military foundations, homeless shelters, LGBTQ communities, which got the biggest pop of anything, which was sweet, nice to see,
It did.
and public school foundations. He said he hopes when he's dead, they'll say he was a loyal MFer, and he got bleeped. And then he talked about standing up for friends and how important that is. And Michael Cole's a good friend, and he will, even though people said it was dumb because Gunther is a beast, he will stand up for Michael Cole even if it kills him. So yeah, first, did it surprise you LGBTQ got the biggest reaction, and then talk broadly about the reception McAfee got, and if you felt moved or inspired or affected by him? Yeah.
Well, he was. I was going to ask you guys how much of the F-bombs you got and the A-holes and because he dropped a bunch of them.
We got the A-holes, but we didn't get the F-bombs. They got bleeped.
Oh yeah, he was, and of course we all popped for that one.
Nope, honestly, it was. It's Netflix, and you can hear those words, but nobody tunes into WWE expecting that at this point. They need to be really clear if they're not going to bleep them. Yeah, that was and again my 11-year-old. Not that I'm a Saint. I'm a Marine. I have a tendency to go. So it's not that he's never heard of those things, but it definitely was a shock. I did not expect that to come out. But even when he stood up, because did they make an announcement? I haven't watched the playback, so I don't know what was commercial. And I know they do a lot of commercials on Netflix and what you guys got. But essentially, as soon as the light hit him and you can see him taking off the headset, the crowd started to pop as soon as he got on top of the table. But I think his speech was one of those that, like as you had mentioned at the top of the show, where was this in September, October, man? This is the counteract all the other Alpha Bro podcasts. Anyway, but yeah, it was one of those speeches that, yes, you would, as Michael Cole sitting there, as a friend, you would love to hear. And I'm glad I got somebody like that has my back. And it was believable. He made it, personal, and it's one of those type of, if they need a promo coach, that's your coach right there. Because that's how you can get, and it wasn't very long. It was clear. It was concise. It was to the point. Gunther, I want to fight you. And I'm having the back of my friends because that is who I am on the inside. I'm a person that love the people that I love. I love unconditionally. Here's all the things that I love. Here's all the things I like to support. And that again, that's how you get a baby face over. It's pretty simple. Who doesn't want a friend like Pat McAfee now? I mean, I can even deal with his obsession with scatological references if he's going to be that loyal to me and beat up Gunther on my behalf. I get, I don't consume a lot of Pat McAfee's show. Like if it's not wrestling related, I'm like into my local sports teams. I don't listen to much national analysis or podcasts. Just don't have time. And there's good podcasts and radio shows here that I'm fans of, and when I have time for it, that's what I listen to. So I don't know a lot about McAfee. The Aaron Rodgers thing was a turnoff. I don't believe people of privilege, even no matter where they came from, should just be a platform that says famous people can say anything without being fact checked. And you just nod along. I think Joe Rogan was damaging. I think he had Joe Rogan had the resources for years and years to hire a fact checking crew. And when he brought people on and they spewed nonsense and anti-science crap, he just kind of nodded along like, oh, interesting. Who's to ever know if any of this stuff is true?
Right.
Like, it could be, and tell me more for 3 hours. It sounds good. And there was no follow-up. But he had disproportionate influence and revenue compared to what every other news entity at his scale of revenue in the past had. This is a media studies thing for some college court, but like the newspapers, magazines, TV shows, radio shows, when they had the resources, they didn't give a platform to every kook and treat them as legit. They would come prepared if they brought them on to push back on things that are knowable. And I'm not a big consumer of Joe Rogan, so people could correct me on this, but as I've heard about him, I think I'm generally in the right realm. Is he gave a relatively equal level of open-minded, long-form, open-minded listening to anybody, whether it was demonstrably, provably bull or not. And it validated conspiracy theory. It made for entertainment and at a small scale without the resource. But if you can just come prepared to go this is just factually not true. This is something that's been debunked, and it is not up for debate. And I have the resources with my team to put this in your face and tell you stop saying it because it's not true. So this relates to McAfee. My impression of McAfee was he was kind of doing that, like, oh, bring on sports athletes, but they're celebrities, and I just want to be the fanboy who goes, oh, you've got views on things other than sports. Tell me about them, and I'm not going to fact check you. Fair or unfair, that was my sample size of McAfee. Other people says, oh, I listen to Pat every day. He's different than that, Wade. And I respect that. My opinion is based on little snippets of things, and I think they are worthy of being judged in isolation as not a shining moment for him, but it doesn't define him. But to me, this was a tremendous version of Pat McAfee that brings me back to why I really liked him on SmackDown initially. And then I think he got a little full of himself, didn't know the product as well, took some shortcuts, made it about him. This was a great babyface promo. Final point I'll throw to you, Chris, and then we'll go back to DJ. Sure. I love a heel being suspended by an authority figure, rightfully so, and the babyface going, please don't leave him suspended. I want to get my hands on him in the ring. Yeah. That is timeless old school. That did not expire. It is the right way to do things. Bad bookers and bad promoters lost their way. That is a timeless application of what you should do. There should be a structure. There should be rules. When you violate it, there should be somebody in charge who doles out consequences. And then there should be a babyface going, I don't want that consequence. I want my consequence. Let me get my hands on him. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I think your point is proven by how immediately the crowd was like, yes, we want to see this most dangerous man come back in for what should be a bloodbath, right? And then to have it turned down, right? So you're proving the point that kind of storytelling gets people in, and it brings up the emotion. And then when we are denied it, we feel it immensely, right? So that crowd let us know that was right. Question for DJ: when at the end of the War Raiders bit and Penta, what were the War Raiders doing when Penta was on screen? Because it seemed like everybody forgot about that match and just was there for Penta.
Yeah, they were. So when he stood up on the table and he was walking, they were in front of him, off camera on the ground, like standing on the barricade. So they were literally just standing there. And yeah, it really felt like, the War Raiders won, but it was Penta's moment. It was very, I feel bad for him, but it's like, I think Sean was saying it earlier, it's like another War Raider New Day match. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. They're going to wrestle again. New Day's going to win, move on. But yeah, this Penta's got, he's another one that he came in. I know they put a lot behind him, and he pretty much came in guns blazing. But he is definitely, it felt like he was definitely over. And the way his reaction was, or the way we reacted to him. Cause I don't know where he came from. Again, where I was sitting, I'm looking at the ring, and then I just look up and I see a mask. I was like, "What? Where did he come from?"
I don't think they showed where he came. He just showed up.
No, I couldn't tell you because where we were sitting, you can see where they were bringing in, somebody that was supposed to be under the ring or hiding something. I'm right there. I never saw him pass me. So he's a ninja for real, I guess.
Cool. DJ, open question to you. What else stood out? Was there anything off air or likely off air that you can pass along to us, or any other observations that Chris and I haven't prompted you to talk about?
Somehow, but again, that's nothing. I don't think it's exclusive to here, but somehow Chad Gable has mastered to being a heel and a face at the same time, because people love El Grande America. It's so strange, and they hate his guts. And it's, of course, we're playing into it, but it's really fascinating to watch how people love that ridiculous luchador, and they can despise Chad Gable. It's kind of like when Kevin Owens was losing his mind about the Elias, and we all get it, but it was just so fun to watch him react, and it's fun to watch Chad Gable being just a phenomenal athlete, and I think he is one of the most underused, miscast wrestlers they have on the roster right now. That dude is super talented.
They're still trying to figure him out. How to best use him.
I guess go back to Shorty G, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, I think the idea is he's a lovable heel. You know, I mean, I don't think they're going for legit hardcore heat with him. I think they know he's super talented, but you know, they tested pushing him in a more serious way, and it just felt like it's Chad Gable. We can't take him seriously. He's really good, but he can't cut a serious heel promo. Like Eric Young has shown range, but for a while it was like, I don't know, once he was a good guy, can you really take him seriously as a bad guy? And he's worked really hard, and I think somewhat effectively, maybe very effectively, moving back and forth between those things. There was a more rough, sinister side that he was able to channel. I just don't think Gable has that in him. So I think they see him as really talented and fun to have around. But in a category of his own that like you, DJ, say, is fans, booing him with a smile, but they would be super nice to him outside the ring or cheering him, or choosing, depending on whether he's wearing a mask, and having fun with it.
100%.
Anything else, DJ, you want to
add? No, I think that pretty much wrapped it up. I was bummed I didn't get Punk today, but it's how it is. But other than that, I think it was a good show. I'm not, I know I can't speak for all Kansas Cityans, but we have problems. It's okay. But it just doesn't seem like this is exclusive to us. It seems like this has been somewhat of an ongoing trend with the crowds kind of just being so wishy-washy and not clear and concise. Well, but again, like you've been mentioning, it's not so much the crowd's fault as it is the Triple H not making that clear cut this way, that way. You can have that one Blue Moon character that can be that ambiguous, but it needs to clearly be, hey, these are the good guys. I will never cheer. As you also mentioned, I will never cheer for the Raiders a day in my life.
Yep.
The Broncos. It's Chiefs 100%. And I can't wait to be in the Super Bowl again to make everybody mad again. I love it.
So, yes, I talked about this on the Fix VIP show with Todd Martin last week. I think people confuse. Like I'm against babyface and heel tunnels. Like I don't think there should be a tunnel babyface a tunnel of heels come out of. I think some people dumb down like my argument and that of others who are for the face heel dynamic, but it's not the 90s version of it. It's not the 80s version of it. It's an updated version of it. And I think bookers sometimes get confused. They're like, well, if we tell people who to cheer for, who are we? It's a modern era. It's supposed to be every man for himself, shades of gray. And I just don't think they actually fully grasp what people who are advocating for a face heel system mean in a more modern way. It's just, if a wrestler's popular, amplify what people like and push them against someone who is unpopular, and you amplify what people don't like about them. And you 96% of the time match heels against faces, and you don't make a big deal out of it. It's not, they don't come out separate tunnels. Not everybody's on the same team. They don't wear T-shirts and identifying or ribbons identifying, what tribe they're on, like in Survivor, or what brand they're on. They're individual wrestlers, and you just naturally match them up so the fans have an inclination who they want to cheer for and who they don't. And avoid muddying the waters except for a very special circumstance, like Heyman with Roman, Seth, and Punk. There was a legit thing with Roman and Punk but if that's the only thing they did in the last year, and certainly the only one on the same show where there's any ambiguity, I don't have a problem with that. But it needs to be the exception. There needs to be a good reason for it that is a means to an end, or it's just going to draw a lot of money. So yeah, that's what I'm for. I'm not for. I don't need everybody to be as wholesome and charitable as Pat McAfee expressed. I'm okay with baby faces having shades of gray and not always living up to their own desires or having the same moral standard, so to speak, as me. I can still end up thinking they're cool, and I want them to beat some other guy who's worse. But I think Levesque is letting it get out of hand, and I think there's people in a circle who don't think that's important either. It's all about the experience and the vibe and unpredictability and let the fans choose. And I mean, when the revenue coming in the way it is, no matter what you do, you might think you're doing things really well and everything is right. But a lot of companies have ignored warning signs, and their peak period drops, and it's too late to change things. The momentum is there. Cool. Yeah. Chris, you want to?
In simple terms, right? Superman and Batman are both baby faces. But
Very
they go
different.
about how they handle their business very differently.
Good
but
analogy.
they have a line that they both won't cross, right?
Yeah.
And that, we're not. I love Superman, obviously, but like I'm not asking for everybody to be Superman, right? No one needs to be that. But give us someone we can love.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. DJ, thank you so much. I would say go Chiefs, but you've had enough. It's time for the Vikings. It's a Vikings turn.
I mean, we can meet you guys in this. I'm fine with that. We need a rematch.
I'll take it.
I'm fine with that.
I'm
fine with that.
I'll take a Super Bowl visit. Yes.
Backlash is coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. DJ, thanks. Appreciate it. Yep.
My pleasure.
Care.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, gents. You guys have a good night.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, Chris, I got to wrap up in like 2 minutes,
sure.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything you want to sneak in? I didn't get to emails because I just didn't time the show out well, but I want to keep the streak alive of coming in under 2 hours here. My producer thanks me for that because he stays up late to get the show ready on all our platforms in the middle of the night. So
we covered a lot tonight. Yeah, man. We really did.
Yeah. Okay, so if you don't have anything else, and I have a minute or two to spare, I'll read JJ from Apple Valley, Minnesota says, after listening to Seth Rollins mention CM Punk and Roman Reigns to virtually zero positive reaction, I'm worried about WWE crowds derailing everything. He sent this in before we started talking. This is not. Wow. This is someone who sent that in at 9:10 p.m. Half hour before it went out in the air, Central Time. I'm worried about the WWE crowds derailing everything. Granted, WWE is doing little to help things by not changing music and having Rollins continue with this. I did not write this email. And continue with his catchphrases. What I'm wondering is if the European likes of the two are good for WWE stories as a whole. I feel like there have been several times in the past decade where European fans have changed the way the American fan base reacts to the show. Eventually it goes back, but with Europe becoming a more commonplace, will this be the norm? How can WWE begin to fix this? It's an interesting topic. I mean, Europe does it differently than the American fans are. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them directly for steering the American fans in the wrong direction, but the crowd becoming clearly more a part of the show, I think might carry over to American crowds wanting to be, and Canadian crowds wanting to be more a part of the show. Congrats to Canada tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, the good guys won.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That email. I mean, do you have like another minute? I can tell a wild story.
Yeah, Matt. No. If it's like 30,
it may
45
take
seconds.
Longer than a minute. It's about true fandom colliding in the battlefield in Rwanda when I was at a soccer match. Oh, wow. So I'll save that for the next time I'm on.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. I'll read this from Zach Barber. He says, here's some clues that a particularly heel turn was ill-advised. The person they turned on is getting booed. They cut their promo screaming like a banshee for no reason other than they're a heel now. They uncharacteristically dodge a fight. They go for the cheapest heat by attacking the city. Becky Lynch simply has no business being a heel. Fans love her. It doesn't generate heat. It just generates apathy. And Lyra doesn't have the juice to help get any heat. I'm not sure Bayley does either, quite frankly. This seems like a bad idea already. Thumbs up or thumbs down to this stage of the Becky turn. She wasn't like super pop, 100% getting cheered on her last stint. So that could be part of what played into this.
Oh, you're asking me to do a thumbs up?
Yeah. Do you think it's okay they did this? Less to lose than the first time they turned her?
I think it's okay that they did it. I think I agree with the idea that, okay, give us something more than attacking the city. Give us something more than the chicken shit heel, roll out the ring all the time. Give us something more. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I actually hope that she joins the stable. That could be cool. So I don't think it's necessarily ill-advised.
JB from Detroit says, I'm not a fan of Becky's heel turn starting out with attacking the fans. We've seen that way too much lately, and frankly, it's beginning to feel like a crutch. Yeah. I also think it's notable of Becky to try to get certain people over during her turns, but I'm not sure that she's the best at deciding who has the most value in being put over. So that's part of the reason she turned last time.
Yeah.
I'm told it's just, if I'm going to do this, let me try to get some people over. I do think Sammy would be a good fit for Heyman's stable. Sammy always has been at his best with an earnest edge, like when he was in the Bloodline. I pray that the War Raiders New Day feud ends at Backlash. I think that Logan Paul is a weird pick for Jay's first feud as champion. Paul's certainly good at what he does in wrestling, but it's very one note. It's the same feud every time, and he and Jay have had very little interaction previously. I was hoping for a bit more bang for our buck to keep Jay hot. It was very weird. CM Punk got booed during Seth's promo tonight. As always, love the show and go VIP. We didn't talk about Logan Paul Jey Uso much at all. So, I mean, just give me your short.
First thought was it looks like Jey Uso has been bulking up to go with the world heavyweight title. So he looked good going in the ring. Mm-hmm. I still think that they're going with the sort of viral pop that can happen when you have Jey Uso, the meme wrestler, and Logan Paul, the walking meme, right? Like I think there's an intentionality there. Do I think it's the best approach? I really don't. Logan Paul is great. I could go the rest of my life never seeing him on WWE screens again.
Yeah. Very good. Chris, thank you so much. Everybody go VIP. If you like what we do, PWTorch.com/go VIP. Check out Chris and Kurt's new show and a lot more cool content. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget the flagship tomorrow. Send your questions to wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. Our streak of not going past 2 hours continues. Thanks, everybody. Our on-site correspondent. Everybody else, we'll talk to you next time.